looking at colonial life, the different segments of society and what their roles were. First, we have a vocabulary word here, artisan. That's a skilled worker who uses tools to perform a craft. And you can see a lot of examples here. Now, you don't have to remember all of these examples, just become a little bit familiar, like blacksmiths, cabinet makers. Uh, there are some here that you'll be familiar with, some that you're not. But you get the idea that these are people that are skilled. They know how to do something. It's not just lifting up some heavy crates and putting them on a cart or a ship or something. They have a skill that is very unique to them and makes them valuable members of society. All right, so let's get started. We've got large landowners. This is mostly in the South when we talk about plantations. They relied on indentured servants and slave labor to make their fortunes, and usually they're very educated. They have a great social life. They go to parties, they go to dances. Reflects quite a bit of what we see in Europe, where you have a privileged class living above everybody else, and the common people are basically lifting these people up to their high status and great living. Then we have farmers. Farmers are in all three regions. They work the land according to the region. So, I mean, you might have cash crops being grown. Somebody might have a tobacco farm in the south, and then a wheat farm or corn farm in the mid-Atlantic, and then um, whatever food they grew in New England. They depended on family members. So if you were a child of a farmer, then chances are you're going to be a farmer because that's what they're going to ask you to do as you grow up. They need your help on the farm to make it better. And everybody had some sort of job or chore to do, whether it was maintaining the house or working the fields or whatever the jobs were. They would divide it among the entire family. Then we have the merchants. They bought and sold goods, so if somebody were to make shirts, they would sell it to the merchant, and then the merchant would put it on their shelves and try to sell it to regular customers. They usually lived in towns and cities because that's where people were, and you can sell a lot more. I mean, one of the great axioms of business is there's only three things that you really need to know in order to drive a successful business, and that is location, location, location. Where you're located in these towns and cities where people are, if more people walk past your store and see your goods, then there's more people that have a chance of buying things. So merchants are very important to the society so that people can, like these artisans can make their things, their um, nails, hinges, boots, barrels, whatever, and they sell it to a merchant. The merchant then sells it to the public. Um, we can consider these people more of the middle class. They're not poor, they're not indentured servants, but they're not rich. Some of them did get rich, but for the most part, they earned a very good living in colonial society. Then we come to women. Women worked mostly as caretakers, houseworkers, homemakers, raised children, cooked, cleaned, made clothes, worked in the garden, did laundry. Basically all the support work for society were done by women. They were not allowed to vote, even if they were free and white, and they had very little say in their lives. And one of the reasons why they were not allowed to vote is they weren't allowed to basically own property. Um, they had few chances in education. People felt, well, what are they going to do with that education? It's a waste of time to educate a woman, so they just didn't see it. Only the most rich and most privileged class were able to women were able to get an education. So it was something that was very rare back then, and it was a pretty tough life as a woman during these times. They didn't have what later on we'll talk about free African Americans that they were also being gypped out of a lot of things, but at least they can have some say in their lives and own property and so forth. Well, women didn't even get that. We talked earlier in our class about succession with kings and queens. Women were being passed over by infant boys would become king before they would, and that carried over to the lower classes as well, where women were consistently looked over. as far as what they could do. So that's one thing that held these colonies back, and one thing that made Pennsylvania very interesting, whereas William Penn believed that women should have equal rights and equal say in everything. So even though it was starting at a point, you have to remember the time that they're in. This is a society that they came from, and only through freedom and discovery that we would start reversing these trends, that we would start giving rights to people that did not have rights at first.